This short video, I'll be talking about the 3.4 Alhaitham weapon options that are currently available up to 3.3, okay? Because 3.4 launches tomorrow, and as of right now, we won't have his weapon, his signature weapon anyway, so that's why I'm going to talk about what we have already. So on the screen, we're just going to have Kaching to be the placeholder for the swords. But yeah, let's get to it. So obviously his weapon will be called the Light Foliar Incision. I talked about the weapon banner already, so check that video out. I don't think that it's a must-pull item unless you are willing to risk it on the weapon banner and also are okay with the other options available there for Xiao's weapon or any of the 4-star options, etc. Or if you just happen to have that many, extra Primo Gems lying around that you want to use for him because you want to kit him out and you love him, right? So I don't think he's a must-pull character himself, but I will still be polling for him because I have the other characters and I want to try. But let's just get back to this. So what other options can we give him? So first of all, the Light Sword, which is what I'll call that from now, is a crit damage substat sword with a damage bonus for normal attacks and scales off of elemental mastery for him because he's a dendro character. So we don't have anything, of course, that's completely the same, but we do have a lot of crit rate and crit damage substat options. So from the previous Ayato rerun, you may have gotten a Haran, or if you have an extra Haran, or maybe you didn't get Ayato, but you got his weapon somehow, then maybe you could give that to your Alhaitham, and he would be fine with this crit rate substat, of course, and also with the passive here, because the passive really does affect elemental skills and normal attack. I'm not going to read it, but it's there on the screen. So that's an option. Another option is the Mist Splitter, which is Ayaka's signature sword. Similarly, it is a crit damage substat. It won't be as high as the Light Sword, but it is at least a crit damage substat for him. And similarly, the passive will require you to do certain attack types in order to get the maximum passive. Now, the one thing is that to get the maximum passive is you have to infuse the sword to get the last stack, basically. And in Ayaka's case, if you turn her into ice, like her little dash, then it infuses the blade with ice, right? And Kaching can use it, but only when she does, I think, her blink move or also in her alt state, right? So certain moves can infuse. And then I think Kazuha can at a C6, he can infuse with Animo. So I'm not sure if Alhaitham has some kind of dendro infusion. If he does, great. And if he doesn't, this is still a great sword for him. It just means that you can't get the full maximum stack with this. But at least it's still a good overall stat stick, and it'll still be powerful for him if you happen to have another one of these lying around, or if you have it but you don't have Ayaka to give it to, etc. The next one is Primordial Jade Cutter. As you notice, I do have 2 of them. If you've been following me, I did pull specifically for the extra Jade Cutter a few patches ago. When it was rerunning, and when I kind of had an inkling that it would be good for Alhaitham as well, because I knew Alhaitham would be coming eventually. I didn't know when, but of course he's coming tomorrow now. But at that time I didn't know, and so I thought, well, might as well go for it, right? I did have the wishes, I didn't pay for it, so might as well. And I did get it, so I'm happy. I will, if I get Alhaitham tomorrow, I will give this copy of the Primordial Jade Cutter to him. He'll benefit from the crit rate, and he'll definitely benefit from the universal passive that's very easy to understand, just an HP increase and an attack based on your max HP. It's pretty straightforward. It has nothing to do with elemental mastery though, or normal attacks, but at the very least, it's a very universal and easy to use passive that activates. So, and it looks good because it's green and gold colored, so it would match him anyway. It looks similar enough to his actual signature weapon. So yeah, that's my plan at least. If I don't get him, I'm okay with that too. All right. So for the 4-star option, for the other 5-star options, if you want to make him a support character, there is the Freedom Sworn, there is the Skyward Blade, and those are awesome options as well. However, depending on how you want to use him, if he is very much going to be like Kaching, who is on the screen, you do need him to be on the screen, on the field. Therefore, I don't know that these are going to give him his max potential, so I'm going to kind of skip over these 2 right now and focus more on the damage-focused ones. Now, you'll notice that I gave my Kaching, for example, a physical damage Aquila Favonia, and I have 2 of them because from just from the standard banner and from losing 50-50 here and there over the years, you might have these extra ones lying around. And for Kaching, she can be split used between electro and physical. So this could be a niche option for Alhaitham too, like pretending that you don't want to pull on the weapon banner and you don't have anything better, or maybe you're for a newer player and you happen to have an Aquila from the standard banner perhaps, hey, I think it's great as a great option too. You just have to like decide on if you want to split his build, like only like focus everything else on his artifacts and all that for dendro, or maybe you want to do physical because he'll still have the dendro bonus because he's a dendro character at least, right? So it's up to you. So that's just more of a niche option. But yeah, I would say definitely these three swords, Haran, Mistsplitter, and Primordial Jade Cutter, are definitely like the greatest options that are alternatives for him. And then if, not having any of those, then maybe an Aquilo could work for you because at least it's a damage focused weapon. And then if you really wanted to do a support focused, then Freedom Sworn or Skyward Blade are options too. Now from the 4 stars option, oh, and there's one more 5-star that I don't have, which is the Vortex what is it called? Vortex? I don't have the name. I forgot. It's Albedo's sword. There we go. Summit Shaper. There we go. I was gonna say Vortex Vanquisher, but that's a polearm. I just caught myself. Summit Shaper. I don't have that sword, but that sword is an okay sword, especially if you pair him with like a Zhongli or a Shielder. So that could be a good option as well. So I don't want to forget about that because that one offers an attack bonus. Let me just quickly bring up Ito here. It has a similar passive to this, and it's from the same series as the Unforged. So I just want to quickly make a note of that. Summit Shaper. I don't have it, so it's hard for me to remember all the swords obviously in the game, but I don't. That's the only one I think I don't have. All right, so then moving back now to the 4-star options. So we recently got this from the Yokai event in 3.3, and this is an okay sword too. It has Elemental Mastery, so this will make him more of a support character if you give this to Alhaitham. But hey, we have it at R5 and level 90, right? Because if you did it during the event, you would have gotten the discount for Ascension cost. So this is also an option. It's not going to be his greatest, but if you wanted to use him as a support character, why not? Now, if you pulled for the Cephos Moonlight during the earlier patches of Sumeru, you might have gotten a lucky copy like myself. I do have one copy, as you can see. It is also an Elemental Mastery, so it's more of a support build weapon for him. Now, again, he may scale off of Elemental Mastery in his kit as well, which is fine. So nothing wrong with these Elemental Mastery swords like Freedom Sworn or the Shigure here or the Zephos. Nothing's wrong with these, but he's definitely going to be clearly a DPS that has to be on field like a Cheng, with and that's why they made his weapon like a crit damage substat, right? So I think that should be his priority over like the Elemental Mastery aspect. So yeah, but definitely if you have one of these swords, I think this could work for him as well. And if I didn't have this extra Jade Cutter, I'll be honest with you, or this one, if I didn't have this, I was gonna give him the Zephos. And I didn't know about this sword until like obviously this patch. So there are these options as well. We can skip the Cinnabar because that doesn't affect him. The Amanoma is going to be your greatest free-to-play weapon here. That's universal. You can craft it. You can give it to him. It's not going to be specifically geared towards Elemental Mastery. It's not going to be geared towards critical rate or critical damage, but it's going to be a great sword option. And this is in my thumbnail as well because I wanted to make sure that we keep it more accessible. But of course, for a 5-star character, I want to make sure that we do talk about the 5-star weapon options, but there are some really great 4-star options as well. Iron Sting is another one that's craftable. It's also Elemental Mastery. People have also commented in other forums and such that Iron Sting is actually better than Zephos. I'm not one to do damage tests or any comparisons or anything like that, but I don't even have my Zephos at R5, right, because it's a limited series. But regardless, like Iron Sting is your free-to-play go-to, this is still a great option for characters such as Kazuha as well. So just keep that in mind. Blackcliff weapons are great placeholders. They have great stat stick options for the crit damage substat. The passive is hard to sustain unless you are always fighting like a small mob with more than one enemy. But if not, then at least for the crit damage stat, then it's a great placeholder until you get a better sword. And that's a great option. For those of you who do buy the battle pass, the black sword is another option with crit rate. This is basically like, this is very similar to, I think, what was that? I was going to say this is similar to a Jade Cutter, actually, because it's a crit rate substat. And the passive has, I believe, a healing aspect to it. So it's actually similar to the Aquila, because Aquila also heals, but Aquila is a physical damage sword. So I no longer buy the Battle Pass, so And as you can see, no one's even using my black sword now. So I have this option to give to him, but I don't recommend people to spend money if they don't have to. So if you don't have this from the battle pass, that's totally fine. Just use the black cliff. That's totally optional, but you can get this every other Paimon shop reset. Okay, Festering Desire is going to be a much older sword because it came in 1.2, so newer players will not have access to this. But this is going to be an okay sword as well, support as well. As you can see, it upgrades your elemental skill and skill crit rate. So that's an option. Another one that's focused on physical, this is like similar to the Aquila then. This is your craftable version, prototype Rancor. And this is okay if you want to build him with physical in mind. And then Sacrificial is yet again another energy recharge substat, and it's good for characters that can do their skills, elemental skill, like if you want to do it more than once quickly, if it doesn't have like a long cooldown, or if it has a long cooldown, then this will help you reduce that by giving you the option to proc it twice. So this could be an option for a support build. The flute will be on the weapon banner for phase 1 of 3.4, but it's not like a great weapon, but it's a good, I guess, starter weapon for early game players, but you'll definitely move on from this. Favonius Sword, again, another great option, but you have to make sure that if you give this to him, you have to make sure that you do his artifacts so that he has a good high crit rate chance, above 50%, so that he can proc the passive for this to get more energy back. The Lion's Roar will not apply to him unless you put him with a Pyro or Electro characters team, so I don't recommend that. And we won't talk about the 3-star options. So I'm going to sum this up. So obviously your best alternative 5-star options, again, are the Jade Cutter, the Mist Splitter, and the Haran. And then if you want, you can go for the Aquila or Skyward Blade and Freedom Sword. For your 4-star damage focused ones, you should do the Black Cliff, and if you are willing to buy the Black Battle Pass, then the Black Sword maybe. If you are able to craft the Aminoma, then do that. And lastly, if you are able to not craft the Aminoma, but you are able to craft the prototype, or if you have this already, then and you're willing to do the physical build, then that's okay too. And then very, very lastly, all of the elemental mastery ones, which we have so many now, Zephos, the Shigure, the Iron Sting, all of those are great options support-wise. And then of course your Favonius and Sacrificial are always there for you as well. So he has tons of options. Just want to kind of pinpoint that there. He's going to be really easy to use and really easy to build. Just make sure that, he's focused on damage, in my opinion, because he's going to be an on-field DPS character. Definitely, if you can, do the Elemental Mastery build for him, or slight focus on some Elemental Mastery for the substats of artifacts for him, then that should be good enough. I don't think you have to do a full EM build for his main artifact stats. I wouldn't bother with that either. All right, so I'm going to keep this short and wrap it up here. So those are my thoughts on the weapon options for Alhaitham, and I will be polling for him once he launches tomorrow, and hopefully I get him. And if I do get him, I will be giving him my other Jade Cutter here. And if I don't get him, then so be it. Good luck to you guys on your wishes, and let me know what you guys think or what sword you're going to equip your Alhaitham with once you get him. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video where I'll be talking about Yao Yao's weapon options. Thanks.